それでは、ただいまより資生堂ギャラリー第8次椿会8の関連企画、匂いの研究者でアーティストの、シセルトラースさんと第8次椿会メンバーのアーティスト、宮城太さんとの対談を始めさせていただきます。私は第8次椿会を担当しています、資生堂ギャラリーの豊田恵子と申します。本日の司会進行を務めさせていただきます。今、画面に登場していただいているのはシセルトラースさん、ベルリンからあります。で、宮城太さん、ご自宅でしょうか。それから通訳は田村かの子さんにお願いしています。それでは私の方からまず椿会について簡単に説明させていただきます。椿会は第二次世界大戦で一時中断していた資生堂ギャラリーの活動を1947年に再開するにあたり誕生したグループ展です。資生堂のコーポレートマークである花椿にちなんで名付けられ、誕生から70年以上にわたり、時代とともにメンバーを入れ替えながら、資生堂ギャラリーを代表する展覧会として継続してきました。昨年よりスタートした第8次椿会のメンバーは、宮城太さん、杉戸博さん、中村隆二さん、エルホル、宮永愛子さん、目の6組です。この、今を代表するアーティストたちとともに2023年までの3年間をかけてアフターコロナの新しい世界について考えていきます。2021年は触発、2022年は探求、2023年は消化と位置づけ、プロセスを踏みながら新たな問いを見出し深めていく作業を行っていきます。今画面で見ていただいているのは昨年の展覧会の展示風景になります。こちらは、宮城さんが昨年出展された作品になります。資生堂の香水セレナーデをモチーフにした小説を執筆され、それにまつわる作品を展示されました。宮城さんから簡単に作品の説明をしていただきたいと思います。
はい。去年、行くよという小説を発表しまして、その舞台が第二次世界大戦中の東京で、女性2人が部屋で時間を共に過ごす描写をずっと書いていて、その中で、その時代に彼女たちが使ってた香水は何だろうと考えたときに、いろいろ調べて、資生堂のセレナーデもその当時使われてた可能性があるということをまず知ったのが、このインスタレーションというか小さな作品のきっかけです。で、その香水を使っていた2人が、戦争で離れ離れになって、そのうちの1人が、もう相手に向けて手紙を書こうとして、ちょっと迷っているというか、何を書いていいか分からずに、ペン先を紙につけたものの、まだ書き始めていない状態で、そのシミが1点ちょっとだけ上についていて、これから何かを書き始める、香水瓶を前にして書き始めるという状況を、作った作品になります。
ありがとうございます。香りというか匂いとそれから文字というのがこの作品の、重要な鍵となっていたということですよね。はい。それでは次にお二人のプロフィールを簡単にご紹介させていただきます。はい。まずシセル・トラースさんなんですけど、1965年にノルウェーでお生まれになり、現在ドイツのベルリン在住です。オスロ、ワルシャワ、モスクワ、サンクトペテルブルク、オックスフォード大学で科学、数学、言語学、芸術を学ばれ、これまでベネチアや広州などのビエンナーレ、ニューヨークモマ、ロンドンのテートモダンなどの美術館でプロジェクトを発表されてきました。ベルリンのスタジオと実験室で匂いにまつわる複雑なトピックを研究しながら、匂いのアートの表現の媒体としての可能性を探求されています。調査は、詳細な研究と分析から匂いの分子と構造のアーカイブと合成や、再生成にまで及びます。シセルさんは匂いの記憶のアーカイブ、1万の匂いの分子のアーカイブ、およびこれまでに4200の用語と表現を含む独自の匂いの辞書を構築されました。 2004年にベルリンにスメルリサーチラボを設立され、世界中の多くの科学機関と共同されています。昨年はオスロのアストラップ・ファーンレイ美術館で大規模な個展を開催されています。続きまして、宮城太さんですが、1981年に沖縄県でお生まれになりました。2005年にニューヨーク市立大学を卒業され、現代美術作家としての主な個展に In Order of Appearance を2021年に宮城屋で開催され、How Many Nights を2017年にギャラリー小柳、アメリカンボーイフレンドBodies of Water を2014年に京都市立芸術大学ギャラリーアクアで開催されました。2012年にスタートしたアメリカンボーイフレンドというプロジェクトでは、沖縄で沖縄人男性とアメリカ人男性が恋に落ちることの関係性などをテーマに作品制作やトークイベントの開催などを行っておられます。ご自身のアイデンティティや出身地の沖縄、アメリカ文化などを題材とした映像や写真作品だけでなく小説も発表されています。本日のプログラムは最初の半分の時間をシセルさんにご自身の活動について、プレゼンテーションしていただき、後半シセルさんと宮城さんとの対談に移りたいと思います。それでは早速ですが、シセルさんにプレゼンテーションをお願いしたいと思います。
Thank you for the wonderful invitation to be on this panel and to do a presentation for Shiseido Gallery. In this very context, I'm going to talk a little bit about the invisible world that surrounds us, that we all share, the air that we all breathe. The world is full of smell, and there's a whole world to smell. And how do we do this? And I'm taking you on a little journey to show my way of doing it. So here you see a slide of the various topics in my work, like smell identification, smell decontextualization, smell replication, smell coding, smell function. We are surrounded by these particles, smell molecules, all the time, full time. We breathe up to 24,000 times a day. We move 12,7 cubic meter air with our breathing. Every breath, we inhale smell molecules. These molecules bypass rationality in the brain and activate memory and emotion in the quickest processing in the brain. This is quite stunning animation and amazing potential to understand the secret of smell is essential to understand the science of smell. We live in a world of interconnectivity, intercommunication. Chemical communication was the first way of communicating between all species long before there was any word. The brain is a general purpose device. If you feed it with information, it will always figure out what to do with it. What could happen if we provide it with pure smell molecule as the only tool of communication? How would we understand? How would we communicate? How would we navigate in the world we live in and the world we all share and the air we all breathe? I started the journey 30 years ago, wanted to understand the world that we all sharing and beyond from a different perspective. So literally, I became a dog for 7 years, using myself as a guinea pig to explore the same world that I knew already by looking at it, from scaling down in my face, using the nose as the prime device for the purpose. So here you see where I've been putting my nose all over the world till today. So starting off analog, I explored what it means to understand the software we are equipped with for free. The second step into my exploring the world was having possibility to work with the industry, in this case, IFF ENC, set up a professional chemistry lab in my studio in Berlin, facilitating me access to amazing technology that was primarily used in greenhouses to understand nature and blossoming. Headspace opened my invisible eye and nose to a completely different understanding and way of working. And I apply it ever since in my methodology of doing and exploring and investigating into smell sources. This allowed me to explore and investigate into a completely different way. But still, showing up, being there is half of my job. Being present, smelling it first with my own nose, then deciding if I'm going to use technology or at all. So if so, I do maybe let the nose do half the job and the technology the rest. Sometimes I also sample smell sources to bring them to my lab in Berlin to be explored and investigated into. In other words, the reality is always the starting point. We live in a world that is covered up with products of smells that has nothing to do with the reality we live in. I believe we need to know what is going on before we decide what to do with it. If we know, maybe we will cover up or do things with smell and taste in a different way for a different purpose. The knowledge is there. We just need to apply it in the right way. So these projects take you on a journey under the skin of the macro level of reality, of the real. So every city I have investigated into, there's always a topic of concern that the client, the museum, the person, whoever might be the stakeholders would like to approach for a different purpose with a different device, in this case, the device, the software called nose. So here you have Tokyo, Museum of Modern Art in Tokyo. This is Amman. This is Shanghai. And the list is long with all the cities I've been putting my nose into over the years. It's amazing when you start to understand a city from this perspective. Behind the facade, under the skin of the city, you discover qualities you will never see. These qualities make you engage with the topic of the city in a much different way. Engaging with it using your emotion, I think is essential to action. And I think without emotional reaction, there is no action onto any topics. And in this project, you only can smell the smell that I collected in the neighborhood of the museum and its surrounding. And you are invited to communicate what the smells are. And there is never in my work any indication what the smells are. So I always leave it up to the audience, the visitor, to be taken on a journey to explore the skill to smell and to understand how important it is to use the sense of smell in terms of understanding where one is and what is going on. So here you are invited to smell and then look at the map where potentially could the smell come from. And then in addition, be taken on a journey in the reality of the smell, which is the second phase of my project always. So decontextualization of reality, place the reality in a comfort zone like a museum, get used to, get familiar with the smell, even if it's a rough smell, and then back to reality with a completely different understanding, where the smell gets the focus and there's no illustration, and there's no language in addition to the smell. You're invited to explore this in your own way, using language, using whatever tool in addition to the sense of smell. You need to kind of understand the setting with nose first. Anyway, not only, the recording reality, molecules emitting, volatile emitting from the various sources is essential to what I do, but I also try to look into how do we potentially talk about smell in a different way? So far we have only been using metaphors and metonyms speaking about smell using the term smell good or bad. So started with having people from all over the world speaking different languages, smelling the same smell molecules and smell construct. What's the starting point of nasalo lexicon? And having their voice recorded, but very short, precise expressions towards the same smell. All these recordings ended up in an archive, a database. I then organized and compared all the expressions towards the same smells and started to build the nasalo lexicon with abstract terms that then means something in terms of a smell from different languages all over the world. And doing this research for 20 years, I always was stunned by the emotion in the voices. So I decided to focus on the phonetics, the paralinguistic part of the recordings, because smell is so much about emotion. So I wanted to read or to listen to the emotion of the voice. So I developed a software that only recorded the sound of the voice towards the same smells. Many people from all over the world were smelling and expressing very quick sound towards the same smell, and build up another database that is now become part of machine learning AI, and it's now on display in China, in Greenland, in the US, and in Norway simultaneously, and it is about to be used in various contexts of my work from now on. So this is literally artificial intelligence providing information for emotional intelligence. So sounds or language or coding for emotional intelligence part of the brain. This is another level, a macro level of reality. I've done a lot of research on the body identity of who we are on behalf of how we smell. A project that started at MIT in 2002. Recording sweat, recording body smell in various psychological states of mind. In this specific project, I was focusing on anxiety and fear, collecting molecules in the moments of fear and reproducing the smell, develop a technology that amazingly could allow the smell to be embedded on surfaces in various contexts. So here you have invisible people lined up at the Louisiana Museum in Copenhagen. You have to activate the wall to release the body sweat of anxious men. And what is amazing here, the wall becomes the skin of a person. And it's literally evoking people emotions. And people are allowed to show their emotion. Here you see people are kissing the wall. And here they're leaving messages to the various hidden men behind the surface. So this project was a collaboration between MIT and Harvard, and we had patients that sign up for the project. So I got them to agree me recording their body sweat in the moment of a fear attack. So this is real data. It's not just me pretending I'm smelling somebody's being afraid. So this is real stuff. And when you smell the wall, the point is not to make you anxious, but the point is to make us maybe understand, to be a little bit more careful towards each other and maybe smell a person's state of mind rather than just look at the person at various situations. So I've done various projects with the topic of emotion and smell. And this is the Turbine Hall Take Modern, where I installed a compound, a chemical compound, certified it. And the purpose of the compound was to make people cry. You enter the building and you started to cry. It evoked an incredible moments, and people were lining up to cry for the first time in their life. So what I'm trying to find out here, how can we, let people show emotion in a different way with what we do? And with smell, it's the quickest way to engage with people's emotion. And it has been done very carefully in a very intelligent way. So this is one project where you literally enter a room, and the purpose of entering the space is to cry. Yes, you smell something very, very settled, but the smell is prime purpose is to cry. It's causing a reaction, physical reaction, without doing harm to the eye. So in general, these projects are covering up or discover who we are on behalf of how we smell. So I'm showing now a couple of slides that go with this in mind. Here, sitting around in various contexts, various science contexts, speaking about body smell is what I'm trying to do in this very set. So these are reproduction of body smells from many, many people all over the world. And here is showing some of the projects from MIT on the singular wall. Here is one of the anxious men in form of a soap. So maybe this can be used to, remind yourself of somebody. By washing yourself with somebody else's smell, you activate your memory towards that person. And I've been doing this for many, many clients that have issues they want to remember. Here I did a self-portrait. So this is 10 kilo, a soap bar, smelling like myself. And a mini version was placed in the Shanghai at the Minsheng Bank in Shanghai. So about the soap, it's very much about not removing, but adding on information. In the moment of cleaning, we know now with COVID, cleaning is important, but maybe we should also think about, the whole notion of removing. Maybe we are removing too much, and maybe we should add on what we are taking away in a different way. Yeah, in this case, you're washing yourself with the soap and you smell like Sister told us. And this was my opening in Minsheng 21st Century Museum in Shanghai. And it was amazing. Suddenly, people start to understand who I was. And the continuation of this kind of thinking is a collaboration or a residence I had at Harvard Medical School in 2010, where we were looking into skin, the flora, the microbiomes and the bacteria on the skin. And the BBC just announced yesterday this news: tiny miles that have sex on the face could be facing extinction due to over cleaning the skin. So this project is looking into what is living in our skin and how can we change our relation to it. So we wanted to do a project using skin bacteria to produce cheese. And we started to map the body, which bacteria do we find where on the body. And the same we did with cheeses. And it was a parallel studies in the two organisms, on the two organisms. So we reach out to celebrities with the pitch: if you would have to contribute to food production in the future, and we would need your skin bacteria for the purpose to use it to ferment food, which part of the body would you choose to take the bacteria from? And what type of cheese would you like to be? So these are various donors. And again, back to what I said before, it's an attempt to change one's relation to the notion of bacteria towards something positive and in this case, also fun and playful, to take away the ugliness, this negative relation we all have had to bacteria for far too long. And in Japan, also, using bacteria for fermentation is a tradition. And this has been the tradition in many, many countries for years, making cheese, using the hand, using the body to, move the various, substances, and so wise also contributing to the bacteria in the process of fermentation. So this is showing exactly this. And making these cheeses a celebrity cheeses, we got the world's attention at Stanford, Harvard, MIT, and the project is still traveling around the world. Is the last project I've been working on a couple of years is about extinction in nature. Plants that got extinct for various reasons called colonial exploitation, cattling. So we were able, together with Ginkgo Biotech at Harvard Natural History Museum, as a collaboration between Christine Agapakis, Daisy Ginsburg, and myself, to take segments from dried plant and grew the DNA. And the DNA, then they start to develop tissues. The tissues started to smell. So we were able to reproduce the smell of extinct plant. This work was displayed in dioramas all over the world. So you enter the diorama and you yourself become part of the extinction here, extinction of emotion, but also extinction in nature. Yeah, so this project is literally you enter the diorama. This is the Venice Biennale of Architecture. You enter the space and you smell molecules are embedded at nano level into this diorama, and you activate them by sitting down on the stones. So you have this invisible landscape, and you can smell the plants from three different parts of the world where these plants got extinct. Very important aspect of my work is education, learning tools for children, learning about smell, learning how to smell in various contexts, various parts of the world. So everything I do, there's always one compound that's dealing with education. That's it. This is just my commercial Balenciaga various projects, but I think we have more than enough here. Thank you very much. I'm very sorry that it went over the time, but as you see, my passion and my commitment to the topic of smell is endless. So you listen to me now for more than an hour has been very, very, amazing. And I hope at least you can make some sense of what I just said and tried to share with you. Thank you very much.
それでは次にシセルさんと宮城さんとの対談に移りたいと思います。宮城さんの方でシセルさんに質問をいくつか考えていただいていますので、まずは宮城さんからシセルさんへ質問をしていただく形で始められればと思います。それではよろしくお願いします。
とても刺激的なプレゼンテーションありがとうございました。もっともっと聞きたかったです。シセルさんのお話を伺いたいなと思った理由が、去年資生堂の展覧会に作った作品で、先ほど話した香水の瓶があるんですけど、まず香水の瓶があるか、豊田さんに聞いたときにあるという話になって、で、ただその代わりのレシピというか、どう調合するかっていう、なんていうんでしたっけ、フォーミュラはもう残っていないという話を聞いて、すごい、悲しいことではあるんですけど、すごい興味深いなと思って、で、その2人が過ごした空間にもちろん香水の匂いはあるんですけど、それ以外にも、彼女たちの汗だったり、部屋の埃だったりとか、その時代の食文化の状況、戦争のストレスとかによって生まれる匂いもあるはずだと思って、で、それを、香水の匂いも含めてなんですけど、それを再現するとしたら、どういうアプローチを取るのか、まず聞いてみたいなと思いました。
Yes, back to what I also emphasized in my talk is smell is real. You need a real source to be able to reproduce that source, so and anything else is just pretending, or you can, based upon multiple type of information, call it chemistry, call it history, anthropology, archaeology, you kind of imagine and you can construct a smell that kind of give indication about something, but it's always going to be, I call it a smell code. Yeah, it's not a replica of the real. Smell is all real. You need to have the real source. So if there is anything, any traces, like I'm doing now a huge project at the Pompeii ruins in Italy, and we're trying to kind of understand, archaeology, the past 79 BC in a different way. Could the dust, could a new excavation, cause that we will have molecules that give indication about something from the past that we didn't know. So smell has to be, in my case, there has to be the real source to be able to at all replicate it, if that's what it's about. Anything else is pretending and improvisation around a topic, which is also okay. But it has to be communicated. It should not be, we know, and then it's not true. I think smell is so real, and it has to be true, with the science, with the technology to our disposal. We need to try to do things differently. And I think, yeah, this is a typical situation. What do we do now when we want to understand, this wonderful smell in this closed bottle? How do we do it? We can open the bottle and hopefully there will be some traces. I wouldn't be surprised that there will, glass is a very good container, and it can hold on molecule for very long if no air has been adding into that bottle for since the beginning. I'm not sure, but yeah, again, smell has to be real in my case. Otherwise, we can just, read a history book, read, and get a lot of information about the time and the sources, and then trying to construct a smell. That's fine too, but it's a completely different approach. Yeah. Thank you very much. Again, real is fun. The more I let people smell reality beyond the church and beyond the perfume, beyond any kind of surplus that put on the surface of the world, the more people enjoying what they are experiencing. The fact that we are born general, we are born with a general approach to smell. Humans, cockroaches, and rats are the biggest generalists on planet Earth. The purpose of smell and the purpose of the nose is to find partner, food, and reproduce. So this is my starting point. I have no prejudices. I wanted to learn how to accept all smells has a purpose. That was the journey I did for 7 years, using myself as a guinea pig to understand that this is possible. And then now I am applying from that experience. And decontextualization of a smell, take it out of its comfort zone, placing it in a beautiful museum, in a fashion show, in a soap, suddenly it gets the attention it deserves. And one relate to it for the purpose it's supposed to be related to.
ありがとうございます。もう一つ話を聞いててちょっと思ったことなんですけど、僕自身がずっとアメリカンボーイランドっていうプロジェクトをやっていて、それが沖縄という土地、アメリカ軍基地がすごいたくさんあって、政治的にもすごく緊張感のある土地なんですが、戦後、そこで例えば沖縄人の男性と、基地の中に住む米兵が、恋に落ちることは可能かどうかっていうのを、初期のテーマとしてはやっていたんですが、やっぱりその同性愛に寛容な時代でもないですし、そういう物語も書かれてこなかった。で、自分がどうしたかというと、その あったかもしれない関係性というのを想像して作ってみよう。それを物語にして映像化しようということだったんですけど、その時すごく人と話してて、こうなったらいいなってなったのが、例えば当事者も今おじいちゃんだと思うんですけど、当事者がその映像を見て、過去の自分の隠してきた関係を思い出して、懐かしく感じてもらえたらすごい素敵なことだなと思って、で、それがさっき話してたように、匂いでも起こるということはすごく興味深くて、その匂いと記憶の関係性だったり、その誰かとつながり合うために、決していい匂いではないけれど、それが記憶を呼び覚ましたり、誰かとつながっていけるっていう可能性は、すごく興味深いなと思いました。
Yes, I use smell as a homage to memory. And I think, we live in a world of digital devices. We don't even know what we want to remember anymore. We are snapping the world away. Me, myself, an iPhone, and when we look up the images, we don't even know who these people are and where did we take the photos, So what smell accomplishes is really, and also I have done a device that literally add a smell to a moment that you want to remember. So give content to, give smell content to an experience, abstract smell for the purpose to remember it. So I think there's many ways, to rethink all these things, especially, after COVID, when we all have experienced the whole notion of the sense deprivation is one thing, losing sense or missing each other, using our senses, and also the major thing here is an invisible particle closed down the world. What does that mean? What is going on? So suddenly, the world understands, the aerosol and air and breathing and the senses has a purpose, and we can use and should use them in so much better way, and especially now when we all have understood that they are important, So as you said, smell is the most important and the quickest trigger of emotion. And the only thing that differentiates us now from the machine is that we have emotion, at least the way we define emotion. So if we don't take care of this emotion, and the senses to trigger the emotion, soon they will go extinct as well. So I think the more projects, of your kind, writing and film and, activating, the senses in these multiple ways without overloading with information, but carefully using the specific, targets, topics, and add information for the various senses to fulfill the story we want to tell to the world. I think it's important, and knowing what sense activate emotion most and memory, and then carefully use that. And then maybe the rest is words, and maybe there is moments where they're just silent, so I think different type of orchestration, knowing what is possible and knowing how the body is operating, is the only way to bring the story we want to tell out to the world in a different way beyond the way the things look like. Yeah, looking at the world doesn't do it anymore. We are very unhappy out there. Yeah, and we have something for free. This is the body and the senses. Everything else costs money. And I think it's about time that we start to bring back confidence to everyone with those facts, and then, our story, your story about the American boyfriend, my story is about inequality, about fear, those messages will be heard, and people will never forget them, it's just, we have to kind of scale down so that we can scale up again, and I think it's so important now after this experience we all have had, to do it differently, as a company, as a Shiseido, as a country, as a person, as an, animals seem to have understood it. Why don't we just learn a little bit more from animals?
はい、今の話にもつながると思うんですけど、コロナ禍における匂いの話もちょっと聞きたいなと思っていて、というのもちょっと個人的な体験になるんですけど、 多分コロナ禍のストレスでそうなったのかなって思うんですけど、映画館でなんかパニックアタックみたいなのになることがここ何回かあって、まあ、いつもではないんですけど、なんか、まあ、そうなると映画館出れるんですけど、まあ、そうすると安心して落ち着くんですけど、その時初めて自分の汗の匂いが違うってことに気がついて、なんかその、状況によって自分の匂いが変わるってこともすごい新鮮だったんですけど、まあそういうこととか、そのコロナ禍の今の時代における、なんか探ってみたい匂いとかあるのかなと、ちょっと個人的に聞いてみたいなと思いました。
I mean, I work every day, all the time. You know that. I mean, I'm alive, so I literally are on duty full time to 7 days, 24/7. So every breath I do, I'm working kind of if I want to. So I don't have, and COVID literally made me kind of rethink, record things that I've done over 30 years, and started to understand why I did it differently. And also I started to sleep with my smells during COVID, all these attacks of various kinds, made me explore what it means to do what I do in a different way. So I started to sleep with my molecules, to look into how deep is the memory that I relate, I connected to the molecules. And also, I turned my flat into different continents and different cities. And I laid out smells in my flat as if I was traveling, So I kind of kept myself busy, using my 25, 30 years of work, and knowing the fact that smell is so connected to my emotions, and we all were suffering. So I kind of used my knowledge to kind of overcome and to cope with the COVID. And that was quite some amazing experience. And the result is a solo show I had in Oslo, and it's the most accomplished thing I've ever done in my life. 2,000 square meter laid out of rethinking reality recordings. I've done for 30 years. So I kind of had my mission was, and the mission is still, to communicate this invisible reality to the world, and now I think is the moment more than ever that people understand what I'm talking about. So yes, definitely every day I smell some new things and new molecules, small, macro level of reality. One topic I'm very much exploring at the moment is the vanillin, and so I'm working on a project in the University of Pennsylvania, which is dedicated to the topic of vanillin and vanilla as the smell and taste most liked on the entire planet, due to the fact that the huge component of mother milk has the molecule vanillin. So it's most people somehow have a moment with comfort towards the smell and the taste of vanillin. So it's a very interesting topic. So that's my focus of attention at the moment, the whole issue of vanillin, go vanilla, vanilla sex, vanilla sky, you name it, I say it. Also in rhetoric, in language, the topic of vanilla is very much used for this kind of purposes. The reason is that it's so normal, it's so everybody kind of know it. Yeah.
ありがとうございます。あと5分ということで、ちょっとこれ聞いていいことなのかわかんないんですが、来年東京で展覧会を控えていると伺ったんですけど、どういう作品を、日本で発表するための作品、どういうプロジェクトを行っているのか、もしお話しできるようなことがあれば伺いたいなと思いました。
It's early stage, but most likely parts of the big exhibition I did in Oslo that's traveling to ICA Philadelphia will also go partly to Mori, but it's also big compound will be site-specific work, which is always the case. Always the site-specific is half my work, always. So we have a meeting beginning of July, and then I will be able to, to know a little bit more about the scale of the project. But it's it's in the context of an anniversary of the Mori Museum. So 23 is autumn 23. I will be in Tokyo, or maybe earlier. So we can meet and maybe we can do a collaboration. Yeah, of a kind, you know, with both Shiseido and yourself. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, I would love to do. I never really travel around in Japan. I hope to maybe in the context of the Mori exhibition that I will be able to travel around and maybe do the traveling become my project, you know. So I'm very curious to see where it will take me. Yeah.
はい。ぜひ沖縄とかにも行ってみていただきたいなと思いました。
And maybe you can be my guide.
はい、ありがとうございました。大変興味深いお話をたくさん伺うことができたんじゃないかと思います。椿会なんですけど、今年の展覧会は8月27日から開催する予定なんですが、その展覧会で宮城さんが出そうと思われている作品についてちょっと少しお話しいただければと思うんですけど、いかがでしょうか。
はい。今年試みようと思っていることが、去年の作品をさらに発展させる形で、インスタレーションに、実際の戦時中の部屋であったであろう香りをビジュアルとしてどう表現するかっていうのを今模索していて、考えているのが一つは、実際に女性が香水瓶を目の前にして、ペンを使って何か手紙を、相手に書いているという映像を撮りたいっていうのと、その部屋にある、テーブルの上のテーブルクロスを用いて、ある種のバナーというか、を作りたいと思っていて、なんというか、沖縄の基地とかに行くとよくフェンスにメッセージとか、イラストとかを描いたバナーが貼られていて、すごい、なんか政治的なメッセージだったり、平和のメッセージだったりが書かれているバナーがあるんですけど、女性が手紙を書いている布を使って、何かしらロマンティックなメッセージを、刺繍で施したバナーを作りたいなと考えています。で、その布にはきっとインクのシミだったり、もしかしたら吸ってるタバコが落ちて穴が開いてるかもしれないし、そこから匂いを想像させることはできるんではないかと今考えているところです。
ありがとうございました。ぜひ皆さんも今年の展覧会も宮城さんの作品も楽しみにしていただければと思います。シセルさんもこの展覧会8月27日から12月の18日まで開催していますので、もし展覧会の準備とかで日本にいらっしゃることがありましたら、ぜひご覧いただきたいなというふうに思います。ありがとうございました。それではもう今日は長いお時間お二人にはお付き合いいただきまして、田村さんにも通訳いただきましてどうもありがとうございました。この辺で今回のトークセッションを終了させていただきます。ご視聴いただきどうもありがとうございました。